Hi, and welcome to ManchTalk. My name's Tammy Simmons, and I'm your host. And this is the very first show we've had. So this will be, I'm sure there'll be some bumps in the road, but I'm sure you'll bear with me, and it'll only get better going forward. A little bit about me, in case you don't know me. I'm a state representative. I represent Manchester Ward 10 at the State House. I'm in my second term. I'm also the chair of the Manchester Republican Committee, and when I'm not doing political stuff, I would like to be outside more than inside. I bike, I hike, I kayak all around Manchester and across our beautiful state. So about the show, you're probably wondering, well, what's this going to be about? I'm sure there'll be political stuff because I'm political, but I don't want it to be only that. I want to tell you about things going on in Manchester, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today, we're lucky because we don't have any bad or any ugly. We're joined by Kate Baker from the Children's Network.
Children's Scholarship Fund.
Bingo.
You got
Children's Scholarship Fund here in New Hampshire, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about what they do and how they help kids in New Hampshire.
So I just want to share with our audience that your mistake does make perfect sense.
It does. It was.
So in our first few years of operations, we were just a tiny New Hampshire organization called the Network for Educational Opportunity, and we had the incredible opportunity as of January 1 to become part of a national scholarship organization, Children's Scholarship Fund. And so we did change our name to Children's Scholarship Fund New Hampshire as of January 1, and now have a larger organization backing us, providing us with infrastructure, helping us to implement best practices, and making it so that we can really grow the scholarship program in New Hampshire. So what our goals are really are to help underprivileged children, economically challenged children, to be able to have the same opportunities in education that your wealthy families have, right?
Makes sense to me.
So, for example, a child who may be in their local public school who has a bit of autism, for example. One of our students had a bit of autism, was finding the education environment too stimulating. His family wanted to move him to a smaller school. It was really right across the river from their house. It's called Green Valley Montessori in Pembroke. Montessori is really hands-on. And so for a child that has special needs, in many cases, that's a great fit. The family found us, applied for a scholarship, got a scholarship from us, and were able to move their child now to the Green Valley Montessori, where instead of being overstimulated and bullied, now he's the cool kid and really thriving.
And he's actually being educated and happy and
in the way that's right
growing
for
the way
him.
Kids should be.
That's right. That's right. So we've been doing this for a few years now. We get about 1,000 applicants a year for children looking for financial assistance. Really, it's their families looking for financial assistance. I'm always thinking about the children because that's really my primary reason for doing it. I really believe that when a child has the educational fit that's right for them, that it helps us all.
That's right.
Right? And
That's
so
right.
those are our future leaders, right?
That's right.
And so we really want them to be able to excel in the way that's right for them. If it's hands-on they need, how about we get them hands-on, right? If it's a quieter place, there's a smaller student-teacher ratio that they need, how about we do that, right? I'm always kind of that mindset where more options for families and children is better, because really when you put education kind of in the hands of that smallest denominator, right? The families and the kids and the teachers.
The people who actually know the kids.
Then you really get better results.
You really do.
Yeah.
Well, and I've always been a fan of school choice and school options because no one size can possibly fit thousands and thousands and thousands of kids from all different kinds of backgrounds
Thinking
and
that
educational skills.
Everyone's needs are going to be met in a single building is kind of delusional, right?
I agree. I think our education should focus more on the kids and less on the building.
Right, and I do see people moving in that direction.
Yep,
For example, they're doing some really innovative stuff at Southern New Hampshire University that's very student-focused rather than, building-focused or linear curriculum-focused.
They have a big online.
They really do, and it's really starting to move towards, if you picture it, the student at the center with the options around instead of
a building at
the center with the students just pouring in, right, and then pouring out.
Yep.
So I love that idea of kind of having kids be the driver and families be the driver for what they want in education, because most families, particularly economically challenged families, really want a better life for their kids.
Well, yeah.
And they prioritize education and do whatever it takes. Like,
and in many cases, those are the families that give up the most to provide their kids with the better education.
They really do. For example, all of our families do pay a bit also. So our scholarship is never 100% of their tuition due.
Okay.
We do that because when you're writing, a check or paying a little bit, and we make sure that it's reasonable, right? We understand that, our average family income of the people we're helping is about $30,000 a year. So it's your, people who work your retail jobs or your receptionist or telling them they have to pay more when they're already stretched is difficult. So, we're making the payments appropriate and reasonable. It might be $150 a month. It might be $200 a month, which that's a huge commitment,
It's a big difference.
But then if your child does poorly, what do you do? If your child does poorly and you're writing a check for that, you say, hey,
fix it.
Susie.
Do something. I'm giving you money.
This is costing us.
This cost me money.
$150. So it does increase that buy-in, right?
Right.
Where now everybody's got skin in the game.
Instead of just a handout,
sure.
you hate to use the cliches, but it's true.
Right.
You can just hand people things, or when people have a little vested interest in things, they tend to take them a little more seriously.
This is more like just filling that gap in, right? Providing a bridge so that a family who otherwise wouldn't be able to make a choice now can. The other interesting thing is that it might be the first time that a parent has ever thought about education as something they should shop for, right?
Right.
You don't go shopping for a Jaguar if you can't afford to buy one. I have a Volkswagen, okay? So I'm not going shopping for a Jaguar because I can't afford to buy one, right? And so this might be the first time that now families are thinking about it, right? Because they're saying, oh, wow, there's a possibility that I might be able to choose something else. And then they start to shop. And that process helps everyone, right? When you actually turn, if our education system was an actual market where people could shop and choose what they want, then it would be more competitive, right? When you have to compete, you do better.
That's right.
And so it has that effect too. The academic achievement of the children rises when they use our scholarships, I think because of that parent buy-in.
Well, and I happen to think that because it instills a sense of competition, not only for the student or for the family, between the Montessori schools or the charter schools or wherever, and the traditional public school.
Yes.
When parents are given a choice to pick the best option for their kids, that means that all the schools have to now try to become the best option so that they can get those dollars.
It does have that impact. So there's programs like this in other states that exist that have done tons of studies on to see, what's the impact on society and economic impact and impact on the children. And one thing that you consistently see is that academic achievement improves for the child in the school that they're in, but also for the traditional public school that they now have left, actually, right?
Because
academic achievement goes up in those schools too.
That's right.
Because everybody tries to improve, right? Now that we have some sort of real, authentic competition in the market, right? And I tend not to think about it really in the big picture like that, honestly. I have to admit. For me, it's about like the kids.
Susie and Joe and Billy.
It really is. Like there was a student who was in a junior high school doing very poorly. Academically going downhill, right? Grades were bad. Teacher was saying the kid was not going to get anywhere in life. He was doing really bad. The mom was watching this happen and really started to panic. In fact, the child's brother is already incarcerated, okay? And so this mother thought to herself, or has told me afterwards, if I hadn't made this life change, in fact, it would be likely that this child would become future, incarcerated also. Instead, we moved him. She found us. We gave them a scholarship, not for the whole amount, right? They had to put some into. And he moved to a small school in downtown Manchester on Union Street, St. Casimir School.
Yep.
And now he's going to go to the Academy for Science and Design next year and wants to go to Princeton for engineering.
Because, he wasn't going to go anywhere in life.
And so sometimes just the change of environment, right? Sometimes it's a relationship that a child builds with someone in the new school that they go to, right? In some cases, it's the scholarship itself, a child knowing now that people are investing in their education.
Well, that somebody believes in them.
And that someone believes in them. That changes the way they look at it. So there's awesome. Many really cool, exciting, things that happen to children when they get a scholarship, and so many, I think, exciting things happening in New Hampshire.
So,
really just in education.
In general, where do you get your funding from? How can people help these kids?
Sure. So if they go to our website, which is CSF, Children's Scholarship Fund, right, the acronym, and then New Hampshire written out, csfnewhampshire.org. In the top left-hand corner, it says Support Children's Scholarship Fund, and anyone can click there and make a donation for scholarships. Regular people like me and you donate all the time, even just $50 or $100 or $25, or we have some donors who give a certain dollar amount per month, knowing that that money goes to scholarships to help underprivileged children get education options. We do that year-round. We raise money like that. For 6 months of the year, between January and mid-June, we actually are able to offer New Hampshire businesses a tax credit. And I'll tell you how that works really quickly. So if a business donates to our scholarship fund, they actually can subtract, it's an 85% credit, they can subtract that right off the dollars that they would otherwise pay to the state in taxes, right?
Business taxes.
And businesses pay their taxes quarterly. It's against their business enterprise and business profits tax. So in fact, a business can just say, I want to give $1,000 to the scholarship organization, and instead of paying their $1,000 tax, they can subtract $850 and pay $150.
So it doesn't cost, in essence, it might not cost them anything. It's just who they're giving it to.
Right. It's also a federal tax deduction. So yeah, it's a really low cost to be able to, say to, I know also that the businesses really enjoy being able to control their money and knowing that they're putting it to something that's a really good cause. And again, big picture wise, it also does save us all money, saves the state money.
And tell me how that is. I know the answer, but I'm not sure if everybody out there knows the answer.
So the average cost varies for a public school by district, right? But I know that a recent number out of the Josiah Bartlett Center in Concord was about $17,000 per kid
per year,
statewide average per year. So the tuition at this St. Casimir School on Union Street was $2,500
a year.
Yes, and we only gave a partial scholarship, and then only part of that money was the tax credit. Okay, so see, there's a net gain there.
Because now the public school's not having to spend $17,000.
Well, the public schools,
they're not going to. It's not going to be complete.
It's hard to define the savings.
Right.
Okay, so there's savings at a local level.
Yes.
Right? Because I'm paying my Manchester City property taxes, right?
Yes.
But in fact, I don't have any, child in the school. So the Manchester City still gets my property tax, right? But the state adequacy dollars, it's almost like it follows the child like a charter school.
Right.
So the state is really the saver.
The saver.
Right.
Because they're not having to give that money to...
Because the child is not enrolled anymore. Instead, they're using the
the
funds
statewide
from our
property
scholarship.
tax is going to the students, and if there's not a student there that needs to be funded because we've moved them over to private school,
that's right.
The state's saving money.
That's right.
The tax rate at the state
credit is not 100%; it's 85%.
So the
so your
state's still getting
business
some
still has there's still a revenue
So it's
positive to the state.
So it's a win-win.
It's really, it's really a win all around. It really made a lot of sense. That the legislature passed this law, right?
I think I voted for
that. On so many levels.
I think I voted for it more than once.
To be able to give kids education opportunities that they otherwise, couldn't afford is incredible work, right? Just that in and of itself is a reason to do it, okay?
That's right.
But then when you do look at the big picture of what it does to overall academic achievement, what it does to, the children as far as civic values, and then what it does from a fiscal perspective, functioning as a cost savings, for all of us. It's a no-brainer to me. Right?
That's awesome.
It was a no-brainer. When I saw the law pass, it was a no-brainer to immediately, start the scholarship organization and just keep going with it. And honestly, I swear I will never give up. I'll never stop doing this.
I am not surprised to hear that you'll never give up.
I would never
stop
doing this.
I've known you for many years, and you never give up.
It's so fun. It's so rewarding.
Well, it's great to be able to work in a field that you have such passion for, because it's not really a job for you. It's
I just love it.
What you do.
I love it. And, for example, I love connecting the businesses and the students, too, so that the students know, again, have that feeling of they're being invested in is so important. also for them to know it's coming from their community
Right.
is an incredible gift, right? And so I almost see myself honestly as the middleman, right?
Right.
Because it's the businesses that are making the donations and
Right.
taking the tax credit who are really helping the kids.
But you're connected.
Right? And the kids are really being helped by them. So I think it's really important to connect the two of them. And I almost just, as much as, yes, okay, I have a superhero cape and love doing the work.
She does have a superhero
love
cape.
doing the work. I almost see myself as a middleman, allowing businesses to really take an active role in education, which really is the future. I mean, you and I both know that from an economic development standpoint, that these are our future
That's right.
employees, and we need them to be prepared, and they're so much better prepared when they have an education that's the right fit for them. They're also, I think, more likely to stay here.
Right, because they've got a communities.
Yes, they value their education. They can see that the support came from the businesses in their community. I mean, they might very well be the future employees of those very businesses.
Right.
And so it's just a beautiful, beautiful circle. So again, CSF Children's Scholarship Fund New Hampshire.org is where
And I'm
someone can
hoping
go
that'll
to.
show up on the bottom of our
yeah.
screen during this.
Yeah, where someone can go to find out more about any of these parts of our
On
discussion.
a similar note,
Yeah.
education related,
Yeah.
school choice related.
Yeah.
For those who are watching and don't realize it, there was a bill that passed the House and Senate last week. Everybody's calling it the Croydon bill because in Croydon, I believe they don't have a high school
They have K through 4
and they don't have 5 through 12.
Correct.
So they chose
in their
to
little town, cute little
very
town.
sweet little town.
Yes,
they're
cute
they're
little
very
town.
happy.
Yeah.
Their school board decided to send their students that they didn't have a school for off to a neighboring town's Montessori school, I believe. Correct.
Yeah. Yes, I think.
I think it was a Montessori
Yes,
school.
it's
It was
in Newport.
definitely a private school.
Yeah, it is a
And it was
Montessori
actually
school.
going to be a lower cost.
So actually, they didn't decide. They made it so the parents could decide.
Okay.
Okay.
Even
so
better.
the school board made it so that a parent could decide after the child graduated from
fourth
the fourth
grade.
grade whether they wanted to choose an area private school
Right.
or an area public school.
Okay.
That's my understanding of
Okay.
it. Yes.
And there were the Board of Education sued, and there was a lawsuit, and I don't even really know if that's come to fruition or not.
It's still
but
being argued.
That's what I
currently
figured.
in the courts. Yeah.
House Bill 1637 was the bill,
Yeah.
and I did bring a summary just so people know. This
Yeah.
bill says it allows a school district to assign a child to another public school in another school district or to an approved private school if there is no public school for the child's grade in the child's resident district. It also allows school board to make a contract with a private school to provide education of a child who resides in a district which does not have a public school at the child's grade level.
Well, and of course that makes perfect sense, right?
Well,
I
we
mean, let's
don't
just
have
talk
a
big
school
picture
for
a
your
minute.
kids, so we'd like to say you could go someplace else.
Well, let's just talk big picture for a minute. I mean, we all know that one size doesn't fit all,
That's right.
And so doesn't it make sense for those taxpayers to, in fact, make it so that the families in their town,
Right.
they are the taxpayers themselves, right?
Right.
Could actually use their tax dollars in the way that it best suits their child. I mean,
Right.
to me, that's a no-brainer.
Right.
So
and
I'll
it's
tell
not,
you, that's
and
already...
it's not like, I don't believe that parents could just pick some random school. They still have to,
all
it still
the
would have to
private
be
schools in
right.
New Hampshire that exist are Department of Ed approved.
Right, so
I mean,
they're all good schools. So we're empowering the parents
Yes.
in a community where they're paying property taxes
Yes.
to make a choice that's best for their kid. And
a
in
great
many
idea.
instances,
I would love
it's
if
no
we
mo-
did that in Manchester, right? If you could choose whatever, like if you wanted to go to
imagine.
Central or West, or you
Because-
wanted to go to, McDonald.
Well, we hear about
or-
redistricting, and nobody wants to redistrict because everybody wants to be able to go to the schools they want to go to.
Wouldn't that be-
Well, how about we just let people go to the schools they want to go to? But in Croydon,
I mean, we sound like, just so you know, that's a really radical
I
idea,
know.
Tammy. It shouldn't
but
be.
I mean, up in Croydon, if
but
they
it
send their
is.
kids to Newport public schools,
yeah.
I believe the cost per student to the town of Croydon was higher than if
Well,
they were sending them to the
You're
the
right.
private
It was
school.
also a cost savings.
They're actually empowering the parents
Yes.
and the taxpayers,
And
and it's a
saving
good
money.
for everybody.
Yes.
So anyways,
There are a lot of instances of that already exist. So the thing that confused
it's not a
me-
new thing. I
it's
think
not a
Croydon's
new
been
thing.
they've been sending them out of town for
And
obviously.
there's a bunch of border towns too that don't have schools that
Yep.
tuition.
And I
so-
think some of the schools
so the-
actually send their kids to schools in Vermont because
Yes.
they're
So
right on the
weird
Connecticut
thing to
River.
me was why argue about it
Well,
suddenly
and why did the
now?
Board of Education decide to sue a town? I mean,
I don't know. It doesn't.
it would be one thing
none
if
of it
parents
really
were
made
suing
sense.
the town for not letting them do
Right.
something, but I really don't think the government should be suing another entity of government.
It doesn't really make sense. And part of the thing with this bill, too, was you remember when the legislators put this bill forward, they were in essence saying, we already believe this is legal in New
Right.
Hampshire and constitutional.
Right, we were just we were just trying to
already
codify it in law.
happening
Right.
here, and it's already having, in the courts,
Right.
Being ruled on.
Right.
And so this was just to reaffirm the fact, that towns really should be able to
to
do
make
what
their
they want.
local control. Everybody
they
talks
really
about
should
local
be
control.
able
We
to do
really
what
do.
they want.
Right.
I mean, that was a really weird situation, I thought, for the Department of Ed to write to Croydon and say, suddenly you can't do this when there's instances
This is
of
where
all
they've
those
been doing.
border
Right.
towns.
Oh.
So I don't know.
So the status of the bill, for those who might be interested,
Yeah.
it is sitting on the governor's desk because the House and the Senate both agreed to it. If you feel so inclined, you can call the governor's office. Their number is 271-2121 and express your opinion. If you think that Croydon should be able to make choices and if other towns should be able to make choices that are best for their students,
Right.
she should sign the bill and let them.
Right, and in my mind, I would like to see us all thinking about creating more options for kids. Right?
Right.
Never limiting them.
No.
Why would we
I've
ever want to limit?
I've always been somebody who, I don't have children, so I have a different, I'm looking at it from a cost perspective often more than a parent perspective.
Sure.
But I've always wondered, why can't somebody just build a school? You know tons of people who are interested in education.
Yeah.
If there's a math teacher and an English teacher and enough people who could just build a school
Yes.
and charge tuition.
Sure.
And there was 20 of these schools in Manchester,
Yeah.
and a parent was able to say, I'd like Johnny to go to that school.
Right.
People always say, well, it's going to hurt the public school. And I think that's a negative attitude to have. I think it only improves the public school.
That's
Where-
what the studies show, that when
well, because you're
children
taking the
have
child who
mobility,
doesn't
it does
want to be in the
improve.
public school out,
Sure. That's a good point.
and you're
Yes.
making room for kids that need maybe more attention in a public school.
Right.
Or
Right.
whichever of the schools.
Right.
And if
Well, and we're lucky
if
in New
there's
Hampshire, we do have a
competition-
lot of good public
I
schools
mean, we
that
all
people
we-
would want to choose,
right,
too.
Right.
Right.
And I mean, we have competition in everything in the world. We pick the
Yes.
restaurants based on the food that they provide.
Yes, think about how many brands of toilet paper there are.
Right. We have an aisle of toilet paper, but
Or
children,
cell phone providers.
but children in most communities are required to go to the school
I know, it's
based
weird.
on their zip code. It is such a fundamentally important piece of a child's life, and
But
it's not even a raffle.
It's only in K through 12, though, notice.
Yes, because then
Because you choose your child's college,
yes.
in fact,
But I mean,
and you choose your
but
child's
if you can't even
preschool, in fact.
choose your child's, yeah, that is funny. You choose at the beginning and at the end.
Yeah.
But if you can't choose the stuff in the middle, how prepared are they going to be for the choice they're making after? Wouldn't it be nice if kids were able to be ready for college a
It
little
would
bit
be
more?
great if they had the education that best met
Fit
their
them.
needs. I don't think every kid's going to go to college
I don't think so either.
You know, for
I actually
example,
don't think
there's
every
a
kid should go to
school-
college.
There's a school in Tamworth, New Hampshire, that actually is on a farm. And part of the curriculum is hands-on working
on
on
a
the farm.
Because
I mean,
someone has to grow the
That
food.
is a great fit,
Right.
for some kids who, I mean, that would be a great fit for an at-risk kid who doesn't see meaning in his or her education,
Yep.
right?
But he can
Going
have
to
a
place
skill
that
and-
was more work, you know.
Well-
Or we have MST,
Right, I was gonna say,
which
we
is
have-
a great fit for some kids,
Right.
or the charter school in Manchester, MC2,
Yep.
that does student-centered
Yep.
learning. I mean, I want to be able to see people be able to pick from all of those things, no matter what their economic challenges
agree.
are. I mean, that's how we're going to ensure that this generation grows up to be our leaders, that they're educated in the way that's the right fit for them, that they have what they need, that they have high academic achievement if they're a high academic kid,
Yep.
you know, and,
Right.
and whatnot.
And if they're not high academic achievers, hopefully they've learned a skill or a trade
Which
so
is
that
awesome.
they can go out and earn a living and,
Yes.
live in New
Yes.
Hampshire.
There's no way to tell what our future jobs are going to look like, right?
Well, they do it all the time. I mean, you hear it from college kids all the time, and we pump them all into one degree, and then by the time they're done with college, those jobs are long gone, and now you need a different degree.
Right.
And they're like, well, you told me to go for this. And, we went through a whole spurt with that with nursing.
Right.
Then we made everybody
I think rather encourage everyone to
do what they are good at instead of
all you can be logo. Okay. Right?
It's true.
Yes. And it does seem like when a child has the education that's the right fit for them, then they soar, right? And they're happy, and their parents are satisfied. The interesting thing was we survey all of our families, our scholarship families, every year, and it's the parental satisfaction that's off the charts, right? Yes, academic achievement goes up too in very high numbers, but when parents are in the driver's seat and choosing the education that they believe is the right fit for their children, then their satisfaction in that education is much higher, right?
Awesome.
Because again, now you've made a choice.
Yep.
Really
well,
fun.
Kate, you have been the perfect guest for my first show.
Thank
you have
you.
made this so easy for me. I thank you for being here. The website hopefully is at the bottom of the screen right here.
CSFNewHampshire.org.
And if for some reason you can't find it, you can email me at ManchTalk@gmail.com. That's ManchTalk, all one word, @gmail.com. And I will gladly put you in touch with Kate so that you can help some kids.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you. So that's just about it for our first show. If anybody has any ideas for future shows, future guests, something you'd like me to look into, please do reach out to me. Like I said, the email is manchtalk@gmail.com. You can follow me on Facebook at ManchTalk. You can follow me on Twitter at ManchTalk. Or you can look for our YouTube channel and watch any of our future shows there, also at ManchTalk. Stepping aside from issues and stuff, I always want to remind people that there are beautiful places in Manchester where you can spend time outdoors. Dan's my partner, Dan and I have become avid kayakers and spend time on the Merrimack River, in Doors Pond, in Livingston Park. There are tons of beautiful outdoor spaces in and around Manchester. So this weekend, instead of sitting indoors or, going to movies, do yourself a favor. Get outside, go for a walk, take a trip up the bike path up into Goffstown, go up to Hooksett and rent a kayak and get out on the river and enjoy some of the real beauty that we have here in Manchester. That's all I've got. Thank you again, and we'll see you next week.